He was the weakest player stuck at level 1, but after killing an ultra-rare gold slime, he got a god rank card that summons the strongest gods. Kaido is a good-for-nothing, ugly, pathetic, and disgusting kid who dreams about becoming like his hero, Captain Katsuragi. Katsuragi was a man who led by example and was considered a hero because he led dungeon explorations. And despite being just a kid, Kaido loved watching Katsuragi on the TV news, claiming he would venture even further into the dungeon. This courage made Kaido believe that one day he could become a hero like Katsuragi. Since then, he began working on his dream and finally managed to enter the dungeon once he reached high school. Despite having no real skills, he heads to the dungeon to kill some slimes. But the only thing he can do is to wait for slimes to attack him, so that he can drain their health points down with some bug spray. He acts cool while putting his bug spray cans down, but in fact, he feels disappointed in himself. It's been 2 whole years since he first came to the dungeon, but he hasn't been able to go past the first floor. And despite killing 999 slimes, he's still the worst ranked adventurer. He cheers himself and decides to hunt one last slime before finishing up his day. He roams around and finally finds the perfect target to celebrate his 1000th skill, a gold slime. He brings his bug spray cans out and tries to sneak up onto the slime. He tries to spray the slime down, but it dodges by leaping away. However, Kaido refuses to let it run away and uses a bigger bug spray can to take it down. He watches the slime drop onto the floor and disappear, and feels proud for a second. However, he feels something strange. He didn't level up. He quickly checks his status screen and notices he's still a pathetic level 3 loser. He thought this slime would give tons of experience because it's rare, but he received none. He feels bad because his bug spray cans cost a lot of money, but thinks the slime core could sell for a high value. He happily rushes to where the slime disappeared but finds no core. He only finds a strange gold card. He picks it up and thinks this could be a servant card. A servant card is an extremely rare drop that allows a person to summon a servant with special skills, or sell it for a profit. Kaido decides to check its stats and notices it's a Valkyrie-class servant from the demigod race with high stats and some rare skills. He gets extremely happy because he once heard a servant card with similar stats being sold for $1 billion. He checks around to make sure nobody is near to find out and decides to find a safe place. He manages to find a place away from the cameras and activates the servant card. The card summons a huge Valkyrie that embraces him with its hands. He gets scared and closes his eyes, but someone suddenly pokes him. He looks again and finds a strange little girl staring at him. The girl calls him Master and introduces herself as Silfie, the Valkyrie he just summoned. That's when he felt the same disappointment he's been giving his parents all his life. He thought he would become a hero with this card, but instead, he got a kid to babysit. He thinks he just threw $1 billion away and all his chances of getting rich for his entire life. Silfie is confused, but Kaido just accepts his reality and decides to hunt some slimes. Silfie reveals she can sense and locate monsters and takes him to a nearby slime. He wants to know if she can defeat it despite being a level 1, but she assures him she can. She steps forward and obliterates the slime with her divine lightning strike magic. Kaido realizes there's a level difference between them. She has 170 combat points while he only has 10, which makes her a lot stronger than him. However, Silfie explains that she's hungry and about to collapse, and the only thing she can eat is monster cores. He decides to feed her the monster core, and she immediately points out that there are more slimes nearby. Kaido stops her because he suspects she gets hungry every time she uses a skill. She confirms, and this makes him realize that he won't make any profit if she uses her magic. In fact, he will even lose money if he tries to help her by using some bug spray. However, he quickly thinks he can still use her skills to make some money. He simply asks her to locate the slimes while he does all the killing. He follows her calls and kills slime after slime until he finally increases his battle points by 2 after reaching level 4. Silfie quickly congratulates him, and they notice his new skill, Slime Slay or DR, which increases his stats by 50% when fighting slimes. He quickly gets discouraged because it's a useless skill, but Silfie thinks having a skill is already amazing. Kaido quickly gains composure and decides to call it a day, and promising Silfie he will summon her again. He then returns to the guild and impresses the clerk while selling his slime cores. She claims that's a new day record, but Kaido claims he just got lucky in his path. Later at night, Kaido thinks about how strong Silfie is and thinks they could maybe go to the next floor. The next day, he makes his decision and heads to the 2nd floor after getting some new equipment. A wooden sword and a shield aren't that much, but it should work. However, Silfie gets worried about Kaido once they get down. He's breathing heavily, his face looks pale, and his legs look like ditto. He quickly calms down after she holds his hand, and they move on until Silfie feels a monster. On this floor, they will only face goblins, and Kaido feels today is not the day and decides to run away. But he suddenly stops and starts beating his face up because He knows his hero would never back away. Despite still being afraid, Kaido decides to beat the living hell out of that goblin. They find the goblin just chilling, doing his business, and Kaido asks if she can defeat it. She happily claims she just needs one hit and starts casting her skill, but gets interrupted when Kaido stands in front of her. He decides to take the goblin on and asks Silfie to help him if needed. He tries to attack the goblin, but quickly gets embarrassed because not only can he not hit a blow, but he even loses his sword. The goblin leaps to finish Kaido off, but our boy uses his quick thinking to use his bug spray on the monster's eyes. Kaido then picks up his sword and rushes to finish up the goblin while it can't see, but he ends up tripping and, at the same time, hitting the goblin in the stomach, defeating it. Silfie is happy for his victory, but Kaido starts tearing up like a flower boy because he managed to beat his fear. Suddenly, he starts glowing up and levels up to 5. His combat points increased by 2 again, but he gets a temporary skill that increases all his stats by 10% when fighting goblins. They celebrate this quick victory and quickly move on to defeat more goblins. This time they use teamwork by using Silfie's shield to block the attacks, while Kaido uses his bug spray, followed by his sword strike. All of this enables him to reach level 6 in the same day. On their way back to the guild, Kaido finds out Silfie doesn't know anything about the world or this dungeon. All she knows is that she has to serve him with all her life. In the guild, he manages to impress the clerk with his 4 goblin cores, but he simply claims he tried to reach the 2nd floor and got lucky again. However, the next day, Kaido starts feeling soreness all over his body. He's wobbling all over while heading to school with his childhood friend, Haruka, who's also his hero's daughter. She finds this strange and asks if he went to the dungeon. Kaido lies and explains he simply worked out because he wants to become like Uncle Arnold, and he even asks if she can let him use her hair to do some rope pull-downs. She doesn't believe he even lifts but accepts the excuse. At school, his friends are shockingly impressed. He managed to reach the 2nd floor and defeat a goblin, but lose all hope in seeing him return alive after he reveals he wants to go further down. For the next couple of days, Kaido spends his time in the dungeon to grind up to level 10 and gets the God Blessing skill, which basically gives him a skill every time he defeats a new monster. He also strangely finds a skeleton on the 2nd floor, but he quickly defeats it with Silfie's help. He gets a red monster core, which he decides to feed to Silfie, but he quickly regrets this decision because he finds out it was worth over 2 million. He thinks they're strong enough to explore the 3rd floor, but he's still a bit worried because monsters could start to appear in groups. He thinks for a while and finally makes his decision. The next day, he explains to Silfie that from now on, he will be fighting all alone. She gets extremely worried because she's afraid he thinks she's useless and annoying. But Kaido explains his reasons. He feels like he's depending too much on her power, and that's why he wants to improve himself so that he doesn't burden her down. Suddenly, a goblin comes out and Kaido just says, "Watch me." Our lil bro rushes forward and gets beaten the living hell out of him. His body was broken, his soul gave up, and even his wallet got empty after buying pots to heal all of this. He needs to think about a plan as fast as his 2 brain cells can. His current goal is to head to the 3rd floor, and he needs to prepare first. He needs to get better gear, get some potions, and stock up on magic cores for Silfie to eat. All of this means one single thing: he needs to farm floor 1. He manages to get a full bag of cores, which is enough to get some equipment and for Silfie to eat. She's excited they'll soon challenge the 3rd floor, but she suddenly senses something strange nearby. They check the area and find a silver slime. Kaido thinks this is due to God's blessing skill and tells Silfie to follow the typical plan. He uses his spray to force the monster into a position where it can't dodge her skill. She easily defeats the slime, and once again he gets a servant's card as a rare drop. This time it's a Viscount class devil called Luceria. She's a bit weaker than Silfie, who seems a bit worried. Kaido isn't sure if summoning a devil is a good choice because he's afraid he might get cursed or possessed. But in the end, he already has a demigod, so why not get a devil? He decides to summon Luceria, the demon, who seems to have some fire on her, but turns out it's also another girl. As always, Kaido is initially confused and wonders if she's the new servant. Luceria confirms it, but this shocks Kaido, who was expecting a mommy milker's demon. To make it worse, she's a brat with attitude problems who thinks Kaido is weak and dumb as hell. Despite being afraid of social interaction, just like you, Silfie thinks she shouldn't be talking to their master like that. Luceria quickly explains that just how demons are, plus she doesn't mean to offend. She's just stating facts. The demon then suddenly complains she's hungry, but Kaido refuses to give her anything because she hasn't done anything yet. Silfie then points in the direction of a slime, which Luceria defeats with her fire magic. Kaido gives her the monster core, but the demon thinks he's a cheapskate who refuses to take care of his kids. He manages to negotiate with her and promises to give her another core if she shows him her other skill. However, both Kaido and Silfie get scared after watching the skill melt a goblin. He feeds her the promised core, and the demon quickly realizes the monster core's taste gets better based on the monster's strength. She wants to quickly go to the 3rd floor, but Kaido stops her. He explains the monsters will show up in groups and he needs better gear, and somehow, he manages to convince her they will hit the 3rd floor tomorrow. The trio heads to the 3rd floor the next day and Kaido upgrades his weapon to a crossbow. They quickly jump into hunting and use their skills to kill some monsters like hellhounds and some type of boars. Kaido was happy because he managed to reach level 11, however, he felt there was a huge problem. They didn't find that many monsters to kill, and to make it worse, Luceria kept demanding to eat more cores. Later, while heading to school, Kaido hears some girls mentioning how they managed to reach the 6th floor after increasing their party and thinks he could also do that soon enough. He returns to the dungeon after class and starts grinding for more cores, but this time, he tries to limit Luceria's involvement, so he doesn't have to give her more cores. Silfie manages to reach level 2 and gets a lot stronger. She shows Kaido how strong she is now, but there's a problem. She's a lot stronger, but that also means that she will eat twice as many cores as before. He knows he will end up broke by this rate, that's why he makes the same decision again. He needs to farm slimes with his bug spray, but Luceria gets annoyed. He's just summoning them and refuses to let them help. Kaido explains he's becoming broke because she's a core digger, and that he only summons them because they give him motivation. Later that day, he sells 25 cores to the guild, but the clerk is shocked. She wasn't expecting him to bring slime cores and mentions she expected him to be nailing the 4th floor. He immediately rushes home and starts browsing for equipment prices to explore the 4th floor, but everything is too expensive. So he decides to continue his slime grind and finally finds a rare blue metallic slime. He thinks he's about to get a new servant card and tells the girls to use their skills to defeat it. They quickly move in and combine their skills to quickly one-shot the slime. However, there's a problem. There's no card, only a magic orb. Kaido is still extremely excited because this is his chance to become a wizard. He doesn't think twice and uses it by smashing it into the ground. The orb breaks and disappears while giving him a new skill called Water Ball. Kaido and the girls get excited, and he decides to test this skill right away. They find a single hellhound, and he asks Silfie to cast her barrier. He gets the monster's attention and starts casting his spell. He throws the water ball to the monster and gets excited. But there's a problem. The monster was hit by a clean headshot but received no damage because this spell only makes the opponent wet. The monster leaps in and Luceria is forced to step in and not only kill it, but also console Kaido. Being able to use magic is already great, especially if they're thirsty. Kaido kind of regrets not selling it, but the girls encourage him to practice his control. He spends his time learning how to make walls wet and how to shape his spell into other forms. Some days later, Kaido's water ball control increases to a point where he can drown monsters with it. The girls are happy for him, but he notices that he can't gain more experience points and needs to move to the 4th floor. He quickly starts grinding the 4th floor and wastes $500,000 on a suit to look like Kirito from Temu. Luteria finds it extremely cringeworthy, especially when she finds out he will still feel all the pain. Kaido then explains that this equipment will protect him from stuff like arrows and stuff. Plus, he also got a bracelet that will boost the effectiveness of spells, which, according to my logic, should choke the monsters even harder. They quickly move on to explore the 4th floor, but Silfie senses something bad ahead. Kaido is about to explain to them about this floor's monster, but the girls see a huge shadow ahead. The shadow gets bigger until a huge cockroach appears. The girls begin to scream and panic and start spamming tons of skills on top of that roach. The girls were so panicked that they ended up running deeper into the dungeon and cleaned up the whole floor while Kaido was simply picking up the cores. They quickly reached the 5th floor and began scouting the area. Silfie quickly finds out that 2 monsters are grouped up, a Mudman and a Sandman. Kaido begins on the offensive and for some reason thinks his crossbow can deal damage to mud or sand. This can only mean one thing. Kaido is useless on this floor and will have to rely on the girls. Luceria uses her skill to one-shot the mans, but the girls refuse to eat the roach cores. They explore the dungeon but find almost no monsters, when suddenly Silfie stops and reveals she's feeling some strange mana from the wall. Kaido and Luceria don't find anything strange, but Silfie uses her skill against the wall and reveals a secret passage. They decide to explore it, and Kaido explains the girls should be careful about stepping on hidden traps. At that same moment, Luceria steps right into one and reveals an arrow being shot from a wall. Kaido tries to help her and gets hit right in the stomach. He rolls in pain for some minutes but quickly gets up and they continue on their way. But Luceria steps onto a trap again. Kaido gets ready this time to dodge the arrow but ends up stepping on another trap and gets electrocuted. Luceria gets extremely worried about him, but Kaido reveals that this actually made him feel better. He even teases the little girl. They continue and finally reach a huge door, which Kaido wants to go back to because Silfie is feeling a huge presence behind him. The girls force him and Silfie simply blows the whole door because that's the fastest way in. They step inside the room and see a huge light focused on an altar. Suddenly, a huge ogre and a giant slime get up and reveal themselves. Kaido knows this will be hard, but he decides they need to defeat the ogre first. The girls combine their kills at the same time and use it against the ogre. Yet the monster took no damage at all. The monster leaps to attack the trio, but Silfie manages to protect them with her barrier. They don't have many options, but Kaido believes they can defeat it by using physical attacks. He tries shooting its leg and realizes it works. He continues hitting all his shots but runs out of bolts. Luceria is dealing with the slime and asks Kaido to hurry the hell up, because the slime is also immune to magic. The ogre starts beating the shield, which forces them to plan ahead. The trio doesn't have many options, but Kaido believes his bracelet could save them right now. He decides to cast his water ball, but quickly notices it turns into ice. Kaido believes this could work because ice should be a physical element, so he starts shooting them at the ogre's face. The monster's health is decreasing, but he can only shoot 3 more times. He decides to make the ice stronger and remembers his training. He turns the ice into icicles and shoots the ogre's head multiple times until it's defeated. He quickly turns to the giant slime that's about to attack Luceria and blocks it with his shield. He decides to use his shield to slow the giant slime down and orders Silfie to use her divine spear. She quickly summons her spear while he steals some time and grows some wings on her back. Kaido manages to lock the slime into a place and she dashes at lightning speed, creating a hole in the slime. Kaido thinks they did it, but he then notices the slime took barely any damage. He's injured and thinks about retreating for now. But his childhood hero comes back to his mind. That thought makes him realize that he can't give up. He needs to stand tall and fight if he wants to become a hero. He decides to run forward while dodging the slime's attacks and decides to use his ultimate skill. Just joking, he uses bug spray. He starts draining the slime's health, but the monster doesn't give up. It tries to attack him, but Silfie puts her barrier up just in time. After 10 years and 4 cans later, Kaido finally manages to kill the giant slime. The girls happily hug him to celebrate this achievement, but Kaido is acting like a wimp and complains about the pain. He heals up with a potion and suddenly notices Luceria glowing. She has reached level 2, but at the same time, Kaido realizes he managed to reach level 15 and has a new skill. He's happy because he can now be considered a real dungeon explorer, but Silfie wants to pick up the monster cores right away. He then notices the ogre dropped a red core, which is worth 2 million, but the slime didn't drop 1. Instead, the slime drop was a rare magic sword. However, Kaido feels he got scammed once he looks at this butter-spreading knife. He then returns to the guild to sell the monster core, but gets questioned on how he got it. He reveals he found a hidden dungeon and points out its location so that the guild can confirm. The clerk then asks if Kaido wants to take part in an event next week. She explains they plan to make the explorers group up with others and explore the 7th floor. Kaido likes this idea and prepares for the event. On the day of the event, Kaido meets his teammates, Irie, Miku, and Hikari. They quickly use the transport gate to teleport to the 7th floor, but Kaito feels like they're undergeared. The girls explain they have everything in their magic bag, which was gifted by their sugar daddies. Kaido feels a bit jealous, but they decide to focus on the exploration. The group stops for a second to ask about their levels, which are from 15 to 18. Kaido is 16th, while Irie is the highest. Suddenly, rocks start levitating in the air and form a stone golem. They quickly define their roles for the fight, but Irie simply dashes forward and one-shots the stone golem. The next second, a bronze golem shows up and Hikari casts some mud magic to make the golem lose balance. Miku also joins the fight and summons her agile cat servant, who strikes the golem with wind. Hikari then casts a huge firebolt while Irie finishes with her spear. However, the group has no time to celebrate as an iron golem tries to sneakily attack them from behind. The girls try to deal with it, but the iron golem is too hard and thick. Kaido thinks about summoning his servants, but he then remembers his magic knife. He remembers about his research and that it can deal the damage he imagines. He quickly gives instructions to the girls, Hikari to use mud to make the golem lose balance and Irie to distract it. He quickly follows up by getting behind the iron golem and stabbing it with the knife, while imagining it will shatter. Suddenly, the golem turns into a ball and disappears. The event soon ends and the group talks about their experience while celebrating. Kaido then finds out that servants can't be seen in cameras, which explains why the guild employees never asked about Silfie or Luceria. Irie asks him if he would like to join their party while they try to reach floor 11 of the dungeon. He hesitates about accepting it for several reasons. First, he's still a student, and second, he's running around with his 2 little girls, but promises to give a reply soon. The next day, Kaido heads back to floor 7 with his servants to test something new. He casts his water ball and attaches it to his pocket knife to create an ice sword. The girls are shocked, not only because it works, but because it can one-shot the stone golem. Silfie is happy that Kaido is becoming stronger, but Luceria knows this motivation comes from something else, a girl. Silfie remembers when Kaido talked about joining a party, and they decided to interrogate him. She believes Kaido thinks they're too weak, but Luceria knows this is all about feeding them monster cores. Silfie wants to know why Kaido wants to join the girls' party, and he explains that he wants to get stronger to avoid being carried by his servants. He then promises he will keep feeding them and will only party up with Arie's group during weekends. Next Saturday, the group reunites and prepares to face 4 stone golems. Kaido instructs the group and defeats 2 golems with his ice blade, while the others defeat the remaining 2. Their hunt was quite successful, but they now must prepare to explore Floor 8 the next day. Kaido's preparation, however, is to buy a life jacket and a magic core gun, making the girls think he can't swim. He simply answers he's prepared for anything because there are water monsters on this floor, and some areas are flooded. The group quickly manages to reach a flooded area where they see a huge dinosaur coming from the water. The dinosaur chases the group as they try to run away, but its footsteps make rocks fall that block the exit. They now need to fight back, and Kaido gives instructions to the girls. Hikari tries to get the monster off balance with her magic. Miku uses her summon, and Kaido tries to one-shot the dinosaur with his ice blade, but nothing seems to work. The dinosaur tries to headbutt Kaido, who dodges it, but Eri uses this change to climb to its head and stab it with her spear. However, the is still alive and shakes its head to throw Eri to the ground. Kaido rushes to make sure she's safe, but the other girls are scared for their lives, while the dinosaur roars at them. Kaido is worried they're about to die and decides to summon his servants. The girls are shocked to see a huge bright light coming from Kaido, who orders his servants to defeat the monster. The 2 girls are happy that he's relying on them and combine their lightning and fire skills to one-shot this beast. They're safe now, but his party members go monkey and just focus on the girls' appearance because they look so cute. They even insist on visiting the hot springs just to simp all over his servants, while Kaido is forced to stay alone and stroke Miku's servant, until they decide to finish their day. The next day, Kaido takes down a slime and gathers the crystal drops. He confirms that the magic cores are now sufficient for Lucilia. Lucilia isn't concerned about that because she is pissed he abandoned them the previous day to hang out with Eri. Kaido explains that he only went to tour her school, but Lucilia doesn't even know what a school is because she didn't attend school. Silfie explains that schools are where humans go to study, but she supports Lucilia's point. She scolds Kaido for leaving them for so long, so Kaido tries bribing them with 3 magic cores each. However, he spots something glowing in the distance. Lucilia protests at his pathetic proposal because she needs 100 magic cores to be appeased. Kaido notifies them that a rare slime is creeping up on them, but they think he is trying to talk his way out of their deliberations. They demand 200 magic cores each, but Kaido assures them he is not lying. Lucilia turns around in anger and burns the slime to a crisp, and they confront Kaido again. Kaido offers to give them 10 magic cores each, and they accept on the condition that he doesn't abandon them so frequently again. Kaido notices the drop from the rare slimes, and he picks it up. He appraises it and gathers the information that they are gloves of reason, which grant the power of invisibility at the cost of MP. He puts the gloves on and tries them out, but he doesn't notice anything. He tries combining it with his dagger, and his strikes become invisible. Kaido is glad that the gloves are useful for something. Eri calls out to him, and she runs up with Miku and Hikari. He thanks them for showing him around the academy the previous day. He still thinks he doesn't meet the requirements to enter the academy, so he has to study more. Eri offers to study with him and tutor him. Hikari and Miku also offer to help, so Kaido decides to bring Haruka along for their study group. The party begin their exploration of the dungeon, but they are cautious because this is their first time exploring Floor 9. Silfie alerts them of a powerful monster ahead. Kaido wonders what they should do, and Miku points out that they have no choice but to forge ahead. Kaido pulls up his map of the dungeon and tries to find alternate routes, but there's no way to walk around the monster. Lucilia offers to help him defeat the monster if it proves too much to handle. The party moves up to the monster's location and takes a peek at it. Lucilia is surprised that an Orthros is on the upper floor. Kaido also finds it awkward that such a high-level monster is prowling on the 9th floor. He suggests they turn back, and Eri agrees with him, but their noise alerts the Orthros. It charges at them, and Silfie casts a shield to protect them from the monster's fire breath. They decide to take the fight to the Orthros, so Hikari casts her Earthwave spell to immobilize the Orthros. Kaido orders Lucilia to cast her spell of Hellfire's destruction, but the monster is immune to fire. It answers with its fire breath, but their shield blocks the damage. However, the heat from the flames is unbearable. Lucilia casts another spell, and Miku orders Snatch to attack, but their attacks are barely doing any damage against the Orthros. Silfie wonders if he has a plan, and Kato thinks for a minute. He runs at the Orthros, and he orders Lucilia to target the monster's weak point, while he acts as bait. Kaido distracts the monster, and Lucilia attacks it from below with a fire spell. Kaido realizes they don't have enough firepower. He orders Silfie to use her piercing lightning strike to break the monster's armor, so Lucilia can follow up with her fire spell. Silfie casts her spell, and Lucilia immediately follows up, but it's not enough to defeat the monster. The monster nearly crushes Kaido, but the others provide cover fire to keep him safe. Kaido slashes at the monster, and it tries to retaliate with its fire breath, but Kaido counters with a water ball. The monster loses its balance, and the party closes in to fight in close quarters. Eri slashes the monster with her spear, Hikari attacks with a fireball, Splash attacks with a sonic scream, Silfie attacks with another lightning spell, and Lucilia attacks with her flames of destruction. They cause so much damage to the monster, and Kaido finishes it off with his dagger slash. They decide to take a break after expending so much energy, and Kaido feeds Lucilia and Silfie some magic cores to replenish their MP. Lucilia is still puzzled because there's no explanation for the Orthros' presence on the 9th floor. Silfie alerts them of another powerful presence in the area. A voice echoes from the darkness, revealing that the Orthros was just a pet. The source of the voice approaches them, and Kaido identifies it as a devil. The party is shocked that a devil is so close to the surface. The devil is eager to begin their fight, and he promises not to let any of them escape. He attacks with dark magic, but Silfie puts up a shield to block the attack. The devil is impressed with the shield's durability. He attacks with his sword, and he is so fast they can barely follow his movements, but Silfie's shield protects them again. Kaido orders her to keep the shield up while the rest of them attack the devil, but their attacks barely leave a scratch. Lucilia suggests using Silfie's offensive spell, but Kaido points out that they will be wiped out if she lets down her shield. Eri assures him that they'll be fine without the shield. Silfie takes down the shield, and she syncs with Lucilia to attack the devil with their offensive spells, but they are ineffective against him. The devil attacks Kaido, but Eri intervenes. The devil is pissed off by her interference, so he swats her away. He attacks Kaido with his sword again, but Kaido blocks with his dagger and breaks the devil's sword. The devil is enraged that Kaido broke the blade the Emperor gave him as a gift. He throws several punches at Kaido and he blocks them with an ice shield, but the devil punches through it. The impact sends Kaido flying into the cave walls. The others attack the devil while Kaido takes a potion to heal his wounds. Miku runs over to check on him, and he convinces her to act as bait so he can attack the devil. She distracts the devil with Snatch's help, and Kaido stabs the devil from the back and uses its burst power. The devil is hurt, but he uses dark magic to cure his wounds. Kaido complains about how overpowered the devil is, but the devil shuts him up with a punch. The others run to his aim, but the devil subdues all of them. Lucilia volunteers to hold the devil back while Kaido retreats, but he can't abandon his friends. The devil also knocks Lucilia down, so Kaido scrambles for anything to defeat the devil. He goes through his catalog of spells with his servant and stumbles on Lucilia's Beauty of Gluttony spell, which increases the user's stats but consumes their life force. Kaido orders her to cast it, but she is apprehensive of sucking out his life force. He assures her that he will be fine, and she casts the spell. Lucilia regains her lost exp and grows bigger. The devil doesn't recognize her anymore, but he's determined to defeat her. He attacks her with his dark magic, but it is completely ineffective. He attacks again, but the result remains the same. Lucilia attacks him with her destructive spell and defeats him in an instant. Kaido informs Lucilia that he is running out of his life force, so he pleads with her to dispel the spell, but she has other plans. She makes him promise to treat her better before she revokes her spell, and Kaido agrees because he has no choice. Lucilia revokes her spell and returns to her original state. The party takes a break to restore their stats. Kaido leveled up after the devil was defeated. He gained more HP and a new skill. Miku, Hikari, and Irie also announced that they leveled up after defeating the boss. They are so exhausted that they decide to call it a day. Kaido decides to check the drops from the monsters they defeated. The Orthros dropped a green crystal, and Kaido picked it up to examine it. He is impressed because it is the biggest crystal he has ever seen. Hikari is disappointed it's not the elixir, but she wasn't expecting to find it that easily anyway. Kaido picks up the drop from the devil, and it's just a card. He asks the other party members what they should do with the card. The others tell him the decision is up to him because he was the one who dealt the final blow. They also have no use for the card because all they want to find is the elixir. Kaido contemplates summoning the devil, but he already has one devil as his servant, and he doesn't see the need for another one. Lucilia warns him never to compare her to such a low-ranking devil again. She advises him to sell the card because it would be useless to him, and Silfie agrees. Kaido takes her advice and does the exact opposite. He summons the devil and he appears before him in a smaller version. He introduces himself to Kaido as Valria. Kaido wonders why Valria is so small, and Valria explains that his level has been reset. Kaido almost loses his mind. He regrets not taking Lucilia's advice and selling off the worthless devil. Kaido's words hurt Valria so much that he tears up. Kaido goes to take a shower to cool down, but he is still pissed off at his stupid decision to summon the devil when he knew the decision was irreversible. Valria offers to help him wash his back. He is trying to prove that he is useful so Kaido won't abandon him. Kaido hears someone approaching the showers and he panics because he doesn't want anyone to walk in and see Valria scrubbing his back. Valria wonders if they will always be together, and Kaido assures him that he will never forsake him. Valria hugs him from behind to thank him for the reassurance. The girls eavesdrop on their conversation from the girls' bath. Lucilia is pissed off that Kaido is already friends with the new devil, but the others don't mind. They finish their bath and head to the receptionist's office to turn in their drops from the dungeon. The receptionist is surprised they have a green crystal in their inventory. She wonders what floor they got it from. They explain that they got it from defeating an Orthros on the 9th floor. The receptionist is surprised that an Orthros appeared appeared on the 9th floor, and they were somehow able to defeat it. She assures them she will send a team to investigate the monster's appearance. She offers them 24 million for the crystal, and Kaido is so surprised he thinks his ears are malfunctioning. The receptionist confirms whether he is the recipient of the deposit, but he asks her to split it into 4 to pay his other party members. They leave the office, and he treats his friends to some dessert. They talk about the events of the day and then decide to go home. Ari points out that special things may be drawn to Kaido because they defeated an Orthros and a devil in one day. Kaido thinks she may be right because he now has 3 servant cards, but he doesn't dwell too much on it. Hikari is looking forward to seeing everyone's new skills during the weekend. Miku advises her to take a break and not push herself too much, but Hikari assures her that she'll be fine. She can't afford to take a break because it feels like a waste of time. They say their goodbyes and end the call. Hikari gets into a coughing fit as soon as the call ends. Meanwhile, Kaido asks Berulia to show off his skills, but he points out that he needs a sword to show off because he is a knight. Kaido is confused because he's supposed to be equipped with a sword already. Lucilia reminds him that he broke the sword, so he tries to find an alternative. He suggests trying out a tungsten rod, but Berulia only feels comfortable with something with a sharper edge. Kaido apologizes because that is the only weapon he has, so Berulia accepts it. He uses it to fight off the cave monsters cornering them, and Kaido is impressed by his strength. Eri is also impressed by his skillful display, but Lucilia points out that Berulia is slower than he used to be. Berulia admits that his skills have deteriorated because he has now regressed to a level 1 demon. He begs the group to allow him to stay with them and help them on their quests. He promises to be the sword of the group, the sharp edge to cut down all their foes. Miku considers his statement ironic because he doesn't even have a sword, but Kaido accepts him because his strength may come in handy. Berulia is grateful that he has been accepted, but Kaido decides to test another of his skills. He loses some HP to the cave monsters, and then asks Berulia to cast his Dark Cure spell on him to test its potency. Berulia casts the spell, but Kaido doesn't feel a thing. Berulia explains that the Dark Cure just mends wounds and gives the recipient enough HP so they don't die. Kaido is disappointed. He was hoping that the Dark Cure spell would counter the HP drain from Lucilia's Beauty of Gluttony to create an infinite loop of enhanced stats. Lucilia decides to test out his theory regardless, but Kaido warns her to back off because his HP is too low. However, Lucilia's thirst is not yet satiated, so she approaches Kaido with malicious intent. Kaido backs off, but he trips and falls. Berulia leverages this opportunity to test out the Black Cure spell on a wound. He uses the spell, and this time Kaido feels his wound healing. He commends Berulia's spell because it's quite handy. They decide to explore deeper into the cave and they come across a bronze monster. Eri suggests testing out their newly acquired skills on the monster. She offers to go first with Hikari. The monster bears down on them, but Hikari traps it with her ice circle magic. Eri follows up with an enhanced spear strike that slices the monster cleanly in half. The monster disintegrates, and Kaido commends the duo for their efficiency and lethality. Eri points out that though her skill is quite effective, it consumes a lot of magic points, so she can't use it carelessly. Several golems emerge from the cave, so Miku offers to take them down with Snatch. She casts an illusion spell that distracts the golems and makes them dance. She immediately cues Snatch to transform into a hedgehog and attack the golems with a barrage of spines. The golems disintegrate, and Kaido commends their combo. They continue exploring the cave, and Kaido informs Silfie that she'll be the one to test out her skills next. Silfie senses some goblins approaching, so Kaido tells her to test out her Song of the Valkyrie. He also orders Lucilia and Berulia to join the fight to see if Silfie's abilities also work on his servants. Silfie starts singing, and Kaido feels a surge of his strength. His vision is also enhanced, and he can read the movement of the goblin so clearly. He dodges the attack of the goblin and strikes it down with his sword. Berulia also defeats the second goblin with a swift sword strike, while Lucullus takes down the last goblin with a fire spell. Lucilia testifies that she feels stronger, but not as powerful as when she casts her gluttony spell on Kaito. Kaido asks Berulia for his review, but Berulia says he didn't feel any change in his stats. Miku theorizes that the spell's efficiency may be dependent on Kaido's relationship with the servant. The group assures him that with time, their relationship will be strong enough to make the spell effective. Berulia thanks them for the kind words and promises to do his best to make sure he becomes stronger, especially when he gets a sword. Kaido gets an idea. He rushes off and returns with a new sword. He presents it to Berulia, but he doesn't take it and soon begins to cry. The group wonders why he is throwing a temper tantrum after getting a new sword. They scold him for being an ungrateful brat, but he clarifies that he's shedding tears of joy. He is overwhelmed with emotion at receiving a real blade. He promises to use the blade to its maximum efficiency until it breaks. He graciously accepts the blade and decides to show off what he can do with an edge of steel. Several monsters conveniently emerge from the cave, and Berulia easily cuts them down one after the other. The group is impressed with his skillful display. Valria returns the magic core to Kaido, who commends him because he can tell he has trained a lot to gain such mastery of the sword. He asks Valria to give him some lessons, and Valria is so hyped that he is ready to start immediately. Kaito decides to make a reservation for another time, because he needs to go home early. The next day, the group arrives at Eri's mansion for a study session. The enclosure is so vast that they have to traverse a dense forest to reach the house. The girls get a lift while the boys are forced to walk a treacherous path. The girls arrive at the house first, and they meet Eri waiting for them at the door. They commend her for having such a nice home, and she reveals that her house is a martial arts dojo that has been passed down several generations. She points out a waterfall used to calm the mind, a dojo used to hone skills, and a yard used to strengthen the body. The boys walk down the path in the yard and finally reach the house. Eri invites them all inside to start the study session, but the boys protest because they can't study right away since they are out of breath. Eri pays them no attention, so they have no choice but to follow them inside. As soon as they enter, the boys recognize the place as a dojo. They wonder why Eri brought them to the dojo to study instead of taking them to her room. She clarifies that her room is too small to take so many people. She points out that they can also practice their sword swings and get free access to the waterfall from the dojo, should they need it, making it the perfect place to study. Everyone begins picking their seats so they can sit close to the person they have a crush on. Kaido is about to sit with Haruka, but Eri has already reserved a special spot for him close to her. Kaido sits with her instead, and Haruka is disappointed. Eri asks Kaido what he needs help with, and Kaido asks her to teach him maths. They begin with coordinates while Hikari asks Haruka to teach her something else. Shinji offers to help her with any topic she is struggling with, but Hayato cuts him off. He scolds him for putting Hikari in a tough spot. He offers Hikari his services, but Hikari turns both of them down and opts to remain with Haruka. Kaido commends her for making the right choice, but the boys put words in his mouth, which embarrasses him. Eri realizes every semblance of peace has gone down the drain. She suggests the group cool off at the waterfall, but Kaido protests her sudden decision. However, everyone else agrees to go to the waterfall, so Kaido yields to the peer pressure and agrees to accompany them. Everyone changes into their swimming gear, but the water is so cold that the boys are too scared to go in. However, the girls show that they have bigger cojones than the guys. They step under the waterfall and begin the meditation to clear their minds. The girls finish their meditation session and step out of the waterfall. They feel so good after their session that they recommend it to the boys. The boys decide to try it out so they don't get outdone by the girls. They step under the waterfall and begin their meditation session. After spending the whole day at Eri's house, the boys are so cold that they forget everything they studied. Meanwhile, the girls are so glad they had such a good time. They look forward to having another study session with Eri. The next day, the group continues their dungeon exploration, but Lutelia scolds them for going on vacation when there's still a lot of work to be done. Hikari convinces her to look on the bright side because they now have enough energy to continue their exploration. Miku advises Hikari to slow down, but Hikari tells her she has been on cloud 9 for the past few days. She feels so good that she hopes to become a hero just like Kaido. Kaido overhears her wish, but he is interrupted by Silfie, who informs him that monsters are approaching. He orders her to use her Song of the Valkyrie to enhance their abilities. Hikari traps the monsters with her enhanced wall of ice. Kaido orders Valria to take down the lizardmen, while he and Eri take down the silver orcs. They immediately swing into action and obliterate the monsters. More orcs emerge from the dungeon, and Hiku casts her spell, which creates dancing illusions. Snatch and Eri follow up her attack, and they take down the emerging orcs. Silfie's song empowers Hikari to the extent that she feels like she can take on the world. More orcs emerge from the dungeon, but she easily traps them with her ice column. Kaido and Valria team up to take down the monsters. Kaido is surprised that they took down level 9 monsters so easily. He was expecting them to put up more of a fight since they had gotten so far into the dungeon. Lutelia ruins his victory lap by nagging that he prevented her from showing off her new skills. She is so eager to show off her new skills that she could burst with excitement. Kaido calms her down and gives her the magic core to help steel her nerves. The group takes a break to cool off. The group starts teasing each other playfully, and Hikari is so glad that everyone is getting along. She hopes that her future will also be filled with such happy and wholesome days. They continue their exploration and arrive at the entrance of the 10th floor. Kaido asks the group if they would like to continue to explore the cave, and everyone agrees unanimously. Hikari feels so confident that she leads the squad into the 10th floor, but she suddenly suffers a heart attack. She stops dead in her tracks and grips her chest. She collapses to the ground as Miku reaches out to her. Miku picks her up, but Hikari is unconscious and she is bleeding. Miku fears the worst has happened, but she hopes that Hikaru can hang in there. Hikari is taken to the hospital as an emergency case. The doctors tend to her, but Miku refuses to leave her side. Eri tries to convince her to let Hikari rest since the doctors have assured them she'll be fine, but Miku insists on staying by her side for a while. Eri points out that her presence will be of no use because the doctors gave Hikari some drugs that'll prevent her from waking up for a while. Miku still insists on staying because she doesn't want to leave Hikari's side. Kaido suggests using a potion to cure Miku, but Hikari gets pissed off. She explains that potions aren't potent enough to cure Hikari's conditions, because they are only good for healing cuts and minor wounds. Kaido figures out that Miku knows more about Hikari's condition than she is letting on. He asks her about it, but they are interrupted by Hikari's parents, who have just arrived at the hospital. The parents rush to her bed as Miku profusely apologizes for allowing such a predicament to befall their daughter. They wave off her apologies and thank her instead for spending so much time with their daughter. They also thank Kaito and Eri for always supporting Miku and making her feel valued. They recall how much Hikari always enjoyed going to the park with the group. Miku is so overcome by emotion that she runs out of the room. Kaido and Ieri apologize to Miku's parents for her display, and they run after her. They go outside to see other children playing in the snow and have a good time with their parents. Hikari points out that the children are having so much fun that they are smiling. However, she feels bad that Hikari can no longer smile like she used to. She first met Hikari in a card shop. She was the reigning champion of the card game, but Hikari stepped up to challenge her. Miku expected the match to be a blowout since she had such rare cards, but Hikari matched her cards. She wondered if Hikari was from a wealthy home, which would explain how she obtained the rare cards. Though Hikari also had good cards, Miku's cards suited her style more than Hikari's, so she ended up winning. She asked Hikari why she didn't get cards that suit her playstyle, and Hikari explained that she was only trying to get cards similar to Miku's deck, because she loves her so much. Miku offered to help Hikari build up a deck that's suitable for her defensive playstyle. The pair became good friends after this encounter. Miku used to be so bored at the card shop because she could easily wipe the floor with every challenger that ever approached her. But after meeting Hikari, she never had time to be bored again. From that day, they did everything together, and Miku was convinced that they would always remain together forever. A paired card tournament came up, and they decided to register as a pair. Before the tournament began, Miku decided to conduct a case study of her potential opponents. Hikari is impressed by how meticulous her study is, but Miku explained that it was just basic game strategy. The tournament began and the pair easily blazed through the other contestants and emerged as the winners. They were awarded the tournament cup and Hikari proudly displayed it. She handed it over to Hikari to lift the trophy too, but Hikari suddenly collapsed. She was taken to the hospital, but on her way to the ICU, Hikari apologized for not telling Miku her secret. Miku asked her what her secret was, but Hikari lost consciousness. Hikari's parents arrived at the hospital, and Miku informed them that she is in the ICU. That was when Miku's parents told Hikari the truth about her illness. Kaido is surprised that she kept all this a secret since they've been together. He asks her to tell them everything she knows, but Miku is hesitant to talk about it. Kaido tries pressuring Miku to spill the beans, but Eri stops him because now is not a good time. Miku's father comes up behind them and offers to tell Kaido everything about her illness. He explains that her illness causes total organ failure over time, and there is no cure for it. The last time she collapsed, they were told she may not survive to see the new year if she collapsed again. Kaido wondered if Hikari was aware of the severity of her illness. Hikari's father admits that she knows because she figured out that something was wrong with her, so she forced them to tell her about her illness. Eri is surprised because she never showed any signs of illness. Miku explains that the drugs prescribed by the doctors suppress Hikari's symptoms. She also pointed out that while exploring the dungeon, they have increased stamina, which makes up for Hikari's deficit. Hikari's father is surprised to learn that they are exploring the dungeons on weekends, because Hikari always told him they visit the park. Miku apologizes for misleading Hikari's dad, but he tells her she has nothing to apologize for, because he's certain that's what Hikari wanted. Kaido wonders why Hikari continually risks her life to explore dungeons, despite her critical condition. Miku recounts the time she first came across an article stating that a miraculous medicine that can cure any disease randomly spawns in the dungeon. This cure is called an elixir, and it is usually sold at auctions for millions. Hikari peeped over Miku's shoulder and realized she was reading about the elixir. She wondered if Miku was going to explore the dungeon for the elixir, but Miku was more worried that she snuck out of the hospital without being discharged. Miku tried to avoid the question because she was certain that Hikari would want to explore the dungeon with her. She explained that the dungeon would be too dangerous, especially since they know nothing about it. However, Hikari didn't back down because she didn't want Miku to put herself in danger for her sake. She insisted on tagging along, so Miku invited her to their secret spot to discuss things. Hikari explained that finding the elixir would produce a cure for everyone suffering from her condition. She didn't want to push such a huge responsibility on Miku, but Miku assured her that she wasn't saddling her with more than she could handle. Miku realized that she couldn't change Hikari's mind because she still had that determined look to follow her. She decided to give in to her demands, and Hikari was glad that they'd get to explore the dungeon together. Hikari was determined to find the elixir and become a hero to everyone suffering from her condition. Miku's father is so impressed that she still considers other people's interests over her own, despite her condition. He is thankful that he has friends like Miku and Kaido around her to support her dream and help with the exploration of the dungeon. Miku tells Hikari's father that she is just doing her best to be Hikari's hero, so she can be a hero to others. She apologizes to Eri and Kaido for keeping Hikari's condition a secret for so long. They wave off her apologies and reassure her of their support in finding the elixir. Miku doubts the myth of the elixir is real, but Eri reassures her that they have to believe it is because Miku believed. Kaido is also hyped to find the elixir after hearing such a touching story. They decide to explore deeper into the dungeon the next day because the monster that drops the elixir is more likely to be on a lower level. The next day, the group continues their exploration on the 10th level. They are welcomed by a sea of sand and a stampede of monster camels. Kaido immediately gives Silfie the order to use her Song of the Valkyrie to enhance their abilities. Silfie obeys, and Kaido orders Miku to take the camel on the right. He also orders Eri to take the camel on the left while he takes care of the one in the middle. Valria offers to take down the middle camel, and Kaido allows him. Lucilia protests because Kaido is playing favorites. She wants to get into battle too, but Kaido isn't allowing her to use her gluttony spell as much as she would like. Kaido skillfully evades her accusations as the group engages the camels in battle. Miku uses her illusion spell to make the first camel dance and then cues Snatch In, who takes it down with its barrage of spines. Eri uses her scythe to take down the second camel with her advanced offensive strike. Valria dances around the last camel and then takes it down with a sword strike. The camel drops a magic crystal and Valria presents it to Kaido, but unfortunately it's not an elixir. Kaido is unfazed because he knows it won't be so easy to find a miracle cure. They decide to continue exploring the dungeon and killing monsters for as long as it takes to get the elixir. The group takes a minute to rehydrate because the desert area is so hot, but Valria suddenly senses something out of the ordinary. He gives Kaido a heads up, and Kaido wonders what is wrong. Silfie warns that he's about to be attacked from beneath the sand, but he doesn't respond in time. A sandworm emerges from the sand below his feet and wraps around him. Lucilia realizes that the worm has completely immobilized Kaido. This is her opportunity to test out her skill, so she tries to use her Flame of Destruction, but Silfie stops her. She points out that her spell will burn Kaido to a crisp because he's in contact with the worm. Miku uses her illusion spell instead to make the worm release Kaido. The worm is now vulnerable, and Lucilia tries to leverage this opportunity to show off her flame spell, but Valria beats her to it. He attacks the worm with increased malice because it hurt Kaido, and he slices it into pieces. Lucilia is so pissed off at Valria for stealing her spotlight that she starts sulking, but Kaido promises to let her handle the next monster. After their exploration, they go to visit Hikari in the hospital. They are glad to find her conscious, and they recount their adventure in the dungeon to her. Hikari is eager to get out of the hospital so she can continue helping with her ice magic whenever they explore the dungeon. Everyone is also looking forward to having her back on the team. The trio leave her room and Miku starts bawling her eyes out. She wonders how Hikari can still put up such a lovely smile despite how sick she is. Eri decides to give her a ride home. Before she leaves, she reminds Kaido that she aspires to become a hero who can protect everyone she loves and cares about. She points out that she is doing her best to protect Hikari. Her words hit so close to home that they trigger memories of Kaido's past, where the same words were uttered. However, he can't remember who said them. On his way home, he gets a call from Haruka, who is checking in on Hikari. Kaido considers lying about her condition. Then he vividly remembers where he had previously heard the words before. Back then, Haruka was accusing her father of lying to her because he promised he would never return to the dungeon. Her father explained that he had to explore the dungeon because he wanted to discover its secrets. He was simply doing what he could to make the lives of others easier. This memory strengthens Kaido's resolve. He promises to call Haruka back, and he ends the call. He returns to the dungeon to continue exploring before it closes for the day. Lucilia is surprised he's back at the dungeons after the others have gone. Silfie warns him to be careful because there are monsters beneath the sand. A sand pit suddenly appears and a huge sand crab emerges from the pit. Kaido stands his ground as he is resolved to do the best he can to make the lives of others easier. Kaido finishes his exploration and starts heading home. Hikari peeks through her window and coincidentally spots him walking home exhausted. She feels bad that he is pushing himself so much just to get the elixir. Kaido gets home and immediately draws a hot water bath. He sinks himself into the water, but his mom is worried because he has been returning home quite late. She cautions him not to overwork himself at his job, and he promises to take things slowly. The next day, Kaido's teacher is taking the class on the history of the moon landing, but Kaido is absent. Haruka is worried, but he suddenly bursts through the class doors looking disheveled. He apologizes for coming late to the class because he slept late. His teacher also points out that he has been acting out of sorts recently. Kaido promises to amend his recent behavior. During recess, Hayato and Shinji make arrangements to visit Hikari at the hospital. They invite Haruka to tag along, but she takes a rain check because she can't make it. Kaido sleeps through this whole period till the next class. At the close of school, the other guys are worried for Kaido because he has been sleeping like he is pregnant. Kaido explains that he has been so sleepy lately because he can't shake off some fatigue. He assures them he is alright, but they are not buying his excuses. Kaido begins to go his way, and the boys wonder why he isn't tagging along to visit Hikari. He explains that he is heading to the dungeon to continue taking down monsters and searching for the elixir. The boys contemplate following him and lending him a hand, but they are self-conscious. They figure out that they will only get in Kaido's way because they are nothing but minions compared to the monsters Kaido will be fighting in the lower levels of the dungeon. They decide to visit Hikari alone and they bid Kaido farewell. At the hospital, they entertain Hikari with card games. Hayato keeps losing so much that he becomes frustrated. He challenges Hikari to another card game, but Shinji tells him to take his L because he can never beat Hikari in a card game, even if he were given 1,000 years of prep time. Hikari agrees with him because Miku taught her everything she knows about card games, and no one has ever beaten her. He promises to bring a video game on his next visit and beat her, but she reveals she has a higher level in the video game, because Miku taught her that as well. The boys decide to take their leave, promising to visit some other time. Hikari asks them to extend her regards to Haruka and thank her for the gifts. She is thankful that Haruka still checks up on her via text, but she is sad that she has never come to visit her in person. Hayato and Shinji cook up an excuse for Haruka and explain that she can't visit Hikari because she is scared of the crowded park. Hikari wonders if Haruka is related to Captain Katsuragi. She has been reading some books while on admission and came across one published by Captain Katsuragi. From his picture, Hikari noticed some similarities between Captain Katsuragi and Haruka. Hayato confesses that Captain Katsuragi is Haruka's dad. Captain Katsuragi went missing soon after he announced that he had gotten to the 41st floor of the dungeon. Hikari figures out that Haruka can't come to the park because it will trigger trauma from her past. She now understands why Haruka has refused to visit her. She swears to get better soon so she can explore the dungeon. She plans to pass the 41st floor so she can find Captain Sumeragi, as she is optimistic that he is still alive. Hayato encourages her to get well as soon as possible, so they can all find Captain Katsuragi, and Haruka will be able to visit the park since she won't have any trauma tied to it. Meanwhile, Kaido is exploring the dungeon with Eri, Miku, and his servants. They come across a high-level Sphinx, and Silfie enhances their abilities with her Song of the Valkyrie. The Sphinx spits a fireball at the group, but Berulia slices it in half. Kaido gives Lucilia the spotlight to try out her new spell. She casts her Fire of Destruction spell at the Sphinx, but it shrugs it off. The Sphinx begins charging at her, but Miku hits it with her illusion spell. Eri follows up with her offensive Scythe Slash, while Miku and Scratch team up to barrage the Sphinx with bullets and spines. Kaido leverages their distraction to slip under the Sphinx and pierce its weak spot with his dagger. They defeat the Sphinx and level up from its experience points. Silfie points out the monster's item drop, hoping it's an elixir, but Kaido clarifies that it's just a magic core. He encourages the group to continue exploring deeper into the cave so they can get their hand on the elixir. After exploring for the day, they turn in their haul to the receptionist. She wants to split the payment into 3, but Kaido requests she divide it into 4 and put Hikari's share in her account because she is part of their party. They head home, but Kaido suggests they continue to explore the dungeon whenever they are free during the weekdays. Eri and Miku agree to join the exploration whenever they are free. Kaido returns home to watch some videos about dungeon exploration and the kind of monsters that drop rare items like the elixir. He decides to read about the monsters on the 12th floor and stays up all night. The next day, he sleeps through class. At the close of school, he hurries off, but his friends stop him. They advise him to take a day off from exploring the cave and have some fun with them. Haruka reveals that she knows he is pushing himself so hard because he wants to help Hikari, but she tells him to take it easy. Kaido tells her he can't take it easy when his friend is fighting for her life, and he hasn't done everything within his means to find a cure. He heads to the dungeon and prepares to continue the exploration with Silfie, Lucilia, and Berulia. As he's about to descend the steps, Kaido loses his balance and falls. Silfie and Lucilia notice that Kaido looks exhausted. Berulia suggests that he take a day off to recuperate and continue the exploration another day. Kaido brushes off their concerns and promises to turn back if things become too much to handle. He just wants to scout out the 12th floor to be better prepared when the party is complete. The group descends the stairs and arrives at the iced-out 12th floor. Silfie can't sense any monsters, so Kaido suggests they scout a bit further to see if they'll encounter any. They move further into the level, but they can't even sense a single living thing on that floor. They find it strange and eerie, but they conclude that the floor isn't conducive for the monsters. Kaido decides to head back, but Silfie suddenly senses something strange. She warns that there's something fast approaching them, so the group stands ready to fight. A colony of bats flies out of the darkness, but there's something huge closely following them. Suddenly, several dozen monster hogs emerge from the darkness, and they realize the hogs are in a stampede. Silfie suggests retreating because they won't survive if they face the hog stampede head-on. She creates a shield and they try running away, but the hogs are gaining on them so fast that they realize they won't be able to escape. They have no choice but to stand and fight. Kaido orders Silfie to buff their abilities with her Song of the Valkyrie, and Lucilia attacks the hogs with her Flames of Destruction. Her spell takes out the first wave of hogs but barely does anything to the hogs that follow. The stampede continues, so Kaido and Berulia join the fight and take down the hogs in close quarters. Silfie also joins in and attacks the hogs with magic icicles. They get so much experience and magic crystals from slaying the hogs that they level up. Kaido is hyped up by this, but as he turns to continue the fight, he loses his balance. The hog takes advantage of this opportunity to hit him with a brutal tackle. Other hogs follow suit, and they run a train through Kaido, reducing his HP to a critical level. Berulia jumps into the chaos and slices through the hogs to rescue Kaido. Silfie orders him to carry Kaido to safety while they hold off the rampaging hogs. Berulia wonders how they'll hold off the hogs on their own, and they reassure him they'll hold them off with the new skills they got from leveling up. Berulia picks Kaido up and starts retreating while Silfie and Lucilia prepare to cast their spells. Silfie summons a huge lightning strike with a spell while Lucilia summons a piercing column of fire. They cast their spells at the hogs and annihilate them, while Berulia carries Kaido to safety as he slowly loses consciousness. Beluria sets him down in a safe spot and desperately tries using Dark Cure to cure his wounds, but Kaido is unresponsive. Silfie and Lucilia meet up with him, and he explains the situation to them, hoping they can do something to help Kaido because he is out of mana. Lucilia jumps on Kaido and gives him a good smacking, threatening to kill him herself if he dies on her. Silfie tries out an actual solution by giving Kaido some magic potion of healing, but he can't swallow it, so she decides to feed it to him. Lucilia gets jealous and also joins Silfie to feed Kaido. Kaido regains consciousness momentarily and thanks the girls for saving him. The servants are happy they're out of the woods, but Kaido collapses again. He wakes up at the hospital and the doctor comes in to examine him in the presence of the receptionist. While the doctor checks his vitals, Irie and Miku enter the room, wondering what happened to Kaido. The receptionist explains that he was run over by a stampede and they are worried that he is severely injured. The doctor puts their worries to bed by pointing out that his wounds have healed thanks to the potions Lucilia and Silfie flooded him with. The doctor suggests they allow Kaido to rest for the time being, and the receptionist agrees to back out and save the questions for later. Miku and Eri still can't believe that a hog stampede ran over Kaido. They conclude that he is cursed with bad luck because too many unfortunate predicaments have befallen him. Miku approaches Kaido and asks him if he is alright. Kaido is rattled, and he confesses that he was scared when the stampede hit him. Kaido is later discharged from the hospital. Eri and Miku offer to walk him home, but he doesn't respond because he is lost in thought. Miku calls out his name, which snaps him back into reality. He kindly turns down their request and runs off towards the station. Kaido is disappointed in himself. He feels like he failed Hikari because he couldn't get the elixir. He silently apologizes to her as he heads home with his head hanging low. The next day, Kaido pays Haruka a visit at the hospital. He kneels to apologize for not considering her condition while they were exploring the dungeons. When the hog stampede hit him, he was terrified that he was going to die. That was when he realized that's how Haruka feels every time they go exploring. She was always terrified for him because he puts himself in danger to discover the secrets of the dungeon. He was simply trying to emulate Captain Katsuragi, who led the Special Dungeon Exploration Squad. Though he led them to achieve heroic feats in the dungeon, he was heavily criticized as soon as he went missing. This made Haruka sad, and Kaido scolded himself because he could do nothing about it back then. He swore to prove the naysayers wrong and do what Captain Katsuragi couldn't. He wanted to discover the secrets of the dungeon and prove to everyone that Captain Katsuragi was a real hero, so Haruka would never feel bad again. However, he confesses that he is too scared to return to the dungeon and continue his quest. He apologizes to Haruka for disappointing her because he lost his courage. Haruka admits that he was initially exploring the dungeon for her sake, but clarifies that things are different now because he is pushing himself to save Hikari. When Haruka was younger, her father taught her that a hero is someone who endures uncertainty and danger to protect others. Back then, she was still too young to understand, but her father wanted to become a hero so he could protect everyone, especially those close to him. Haruka now understands what he meant, and she acknowledges that Kaido is both her and Hikari's hero. Haruka admits that she always worries every time Kaido enters the dungeons, because she fears she will never see him again. However, she wants him to continue with the exploration for the sake of Hikari, because it is the only way to save her. Kaido is encouraged by her words, but he is still uncertain about what to do. He doesn't know how deep he has to explore into the dungeon, and the kind of monsters that drop the elixir. Haruka advises him to do what is within his power, and Kaido ponders her statement for a while. He suddenly gets a brilliant idea and he thanks Haruka for the pointers. Before he leaves, Haruka makes him promise to return home safely. He promises to return in one piece, and he immediately gathers with the group at the dungeon. He explains that he wants to keep farming slimes in the upper level of the dungeon because they are attracted to him. He speculates that this would be the easiest way to get an elixir because he has acquired rare items like Luxelia and Silfie from the upper levels previously. Miku disagrees with his plan because she feels that it was just luck, but Ari thinks Kaido may be correct. Silfie agrees with Kaido. She points out that they all met each other for the sole purpose of finding the elixir and making it available to everyone who needs it. She vows to follow Kaido for as long as it takes to get it. Everyone is won over by her convincing argument, and they promise to farm as many slimes as it takes to obtain the elixir. Everyone gets to work taking down as many slimes as they can, but they don't get the elixir. The next day, Hayato and Shinji want to contribute to the group's effort of finding a cure, so they offer to help with the slime farming. Everyone is glad to have extra hands except Luxelia, who thinks that the boys are coming to steal her spotlight. The group gets down to work, but after slowly slaying slimes for hours, they don't get any rare drops from it. Everyone is slowly losing their enthusiasm, but Shinji suddenly wishes everyone a Merry Christmas. He had forgotten to extend his festive wishes before, so he took the opportunity to do so. Hayato hopes that Santa Claus will get them the elixir as Christmas presents. Kaido suggests they throw a Christmas party, and Hayato is all for it. Having some chicken and cake while exploring the dungeon doesn't sound too bad. Kaido points out that the celebration won't be complete without Hikari, so Miku suggests that they get back to farming slimes so they can obtain the elixir. Suddenly, Silfie detects a presence she has never sensed before. The group decides to investigate this strange creature, and Silfie points them in the direction. Kaido peels through the corner and appraises the creature to discover that it's a rainbow slime. Miku shouts in surprise, which almost scares the creature away. Kaido pulls her back and warns her to remain quiet. He advises the group to proceed with caution because if they lose this rare slime, they may never find another one like it. He formulates a strategy to surround the slime and block all its exits, increasing their chances of capturing it. Everyone gets into position and they arm themselves for the assault. Silfie begins with her lightning spell, and Luxelia follows up with her hellfire spell of destruction. Kaido is certain their attack is lethal enough to take down the creature, but it emerges from the dust unscathed. The creature scrambles to escape into the dungeon, but a member of the party blocks each exit. The slime is surrounded, so it stays in the middle of the party, desperate for an escape route. The party begins to close in on it cautiously, and the slime panics as it realizes what is about to happen. The group synchronizes their attacks, and they take down the slime. They immediately rush to the hospital and perform a grand theft Hikari. They steal her hospital bed as her parents watch on without protest because they are certain they have good intentions for Hikari. However, the doctor isn't too thrilled because he doesn't want to lose his license. He chases after his patient, but he loses them at the elevator. They take Hikari to the dungeon and show her the servant card that the slime dropped. The servant card is for Queen Titania, a powerful healing servant. They theorize that she may be able to cure Hikari's illness, so they ask her to summon Titania as her servant. Hikari is hesitant because she doesn't want to be the recipient of such a powerful card, but her friends assure her that she can use it. Although they weren't able to obtain an elixir, this is the best they could do, and they hope it is sufficient. Hikari agrees and she takes the card. She summons Titania and a burst of pink light engulfs the cave. Titania descends and she recognizes Hikari as her master. Kaido explains to Titania that Hikari is sick, and Miku asks her if she can cure her. Titania tries to cure her, but she informs the group that she can't. She explains that she is only level 1, so she is not strong enough to cure Hikari. Luxelia wonders if she can at least do something to make a cure for Hikari, but Titania admits that she can't do that in her current state. Eri reads between the lines and realizes that Titania only said she can't cure Hikari, but she never said anything about not being able to heal her. She asks Titania if she can heal Hikari enough to alleviate her suffering a little, and Titania admits that she can. Her answer rekindles everyone's hope. They beg her to immediately get to work and do what she can to help Hikari. Titania grants their request, and she places her palms on Hikari's hands. She uses her healing spell, which engulfs Hikari in pink light. After a while, the light fades and Hikari loses consciousness momentarily. The group is anxious about the result of the spell because they will be held accountable if anything goes wrong. They call out to Hikari, but she doesn't respond. After a while, she opens her eyes and the group wonders if she's feeling okay. Hikari steps out of bed and admits that she is feeling better. She twirls around happily and she thanks Miku for giving her the best Christmas present she could ever ask for. Miku hugs her happily because she hasn't seen her this happy in such a long time. Hikari acknowledges Miku as her hero, and Miku thanks her for finding her worthy of being called a hero. Hikari also acknowledges every other person present as her hero, because she knows they put in so much effort to find a cure for her. She also thanks Titania especially for healing her enough that she can stand without support. She is proud to be the master of such a powerful healer. Titania is grateful for Hikari's praises. and she hopes to do more for her in the future as they continue their dungeon exploration. The group leaves the dungeon and everyone goes their separate ways. Kaido meets up with Haruka and relays the good news. Haruka is delighted to hear that Hikari's condition is no longer as chronic as it used to be. Kaido points out that Titania's healing effect will only last for a year, so they still have to find a more permanent solution to Hikari's problem. He explains that Titanus needs to level up so she can obtain an advanced healing spell called Yggdrasil. Yggdrasil is a spell that can cure all physical abnormalities with just a single cast. The two available options to make sure Hikari gets a permanent cure are either to find the elixir or for Titania to level up and learn Yggdrasil within a year. Haruka realizes that Kaido's quest is still not done. He will have to return to the dungeon and keep killing monsters to either level Titania up or find the elixir. Haruka reminds him of the promise they made, and Kaido assures her that he will keep his promise of always returning home safely. Haruka wishes him a Merry Christmas, and she hopes luck is on his side as he continues his exploration. Haruka's words enchant Kaido, and he's entranced by how lovely her face looks under the moonlight. He blushes, but he summons the courage to confess his feelings to Haruka. He starts to tell her that he has always had a crush on her since they were kids, but the words can't get past his throat. He tries to force them out, but Haruka's mom calls her into the house because she doesn't want her to catch a cold standing outside for so long. Haruka waves Kaido goodbye and she leaves him standing outside with his words still stuck in his throat. At the start of the new year, Haruka and Kaido go out to make their annual wishes. Haruka wonders what Kaido wishes for, and he informs her that his wish is to explore the dungeon safely throughout the year and have insanely good luck while doing so. Haruka wonders why everything about Kaido revolves around his dungeon explorations. She was hoping he would pray to get into college like every other normal high school student. Kaido can't defend his choice, but he hopes that someday he will return and wish for a normal life after he has found the cure for Haruka. He returns to exploring the dungeon the next day with the party. Everyone is eager to give their best to complete their quest of finding the elixir and becoming heroes for the sake of others. Titania's goal is to level up enough to master Yggdrasil so she can cure Hikari fully. They begin their exploration and encounter a lava dragon. Without hesitation, Kaido lunges at the monster. He is determined to become a hero with unwavering resolve.